I had to rebuild my Apple setup today, I wouldn't focus on making it the most powerful or the most impressive. I'd build one that I know I will still enjoy using several years down the line. This is not a budget recommendation, but it is how I would try and get the most bang for my buck. But Emily, you have a billion devices. I hear you. But now I'd like to think that I'm wiser and can be more honest about what I use daily. I do have a few ground rules, and I think that they are useful anytime you go to buy a new device. First and most importantly, it has to survive software updates and continue to get security patches well into the future. We're gonna be realistic here and just say that a phone should generally be lasting you 3 to 4 years at least. During this time, you should still be getting significant upgrades and new features. Not all of the new features, because you know, how would Apple sell new devices if they didn't keep some? But it does mean that by the time you do upgrade, it will be a more significant upgrade. 3 to 4 generations gives a company time to, you know, significantly change things. You don't need to every year. That's just not realistic. Especially in a world where we kind of see, for the most part, phone innovation stagnating a little bit. Okay, and second, is this a device you will use every day? If not, you probably know what I'm gonna say. And third, is there another device in your life that can still serve the same purpose? So today's picks we are making not only on the basis of what they can do today, but what they can do and how they feel after a long time. We want longevity from our devices. We want to still feel good about them after several years and not feel the need to upgrade. And at the end of this video, I will tally everything up for you and show you exactly the cost breakdown. First device. I like to start with my computer because I am traditional and would still consider my computer to be the central device that I build everything around. When I was going to get a new computer, I deliberated for several months and tinkered with the idea of getting a Mac Mini, but ultimately decided against it, and today I'm very happy that I did. Why? Because nowadays MacBooks can power multiple monitors and peripherals with no issue. So you can use them in a desktop setup and still have something mobile. And if I had been honest with myself, if I had gotten a Mac Mini, I still would have wanted a MacBook for the portability, and the Mac Mini probably wouldn't have been used as often as I would like a device to be used. Personally, I like working in different locations and switching it up just to keep my brain moving. So I ended up going with a MacBook Air M4 and talked about that personal choice in another video, so I won't really go into it here. But truly, I do think that this is the best MacBook for most people. And I think 100% worth the cost. I know that a lot of creatives do end up going with the Pro, and that's awesome if you have that kind of cash. But trust me, I use things like Premiere Pro on a daily basis alongside other applications, and it's completely fine. Basically, if you were questioning, do I need a MacBook Pro? The answer is probably no. The Pro definitely used to be the better MacBook if you could afford it, but nowadays I would say that that's just simply not true anymore. It is definitely more of a professional device for people who are doing really heavy lifting, and that is not 99% of the population. Besides, what's more important to me than 5 minutes of faster rendering time is ultimately practicality. The MacBook Air is thin, light, has a crazy battery life, and it's quiet. And when I have work to do, it is an effortless device to pull out. I think that kind of comfort is incredibly valuable in the long term, and is why I am an Air convert. Trust me, as someone who has been guilty of this mindset in the past, buy for your day-to-day and not some what-if scenario. Next up, I would go with the iPad Mini and Pencil Pro. That's right, here we are going for added capabilities, not laptop replacements, because like I said, we've got a laptop. This is the device that for when you need something bigger than your iPhone, but don't quite need to pull out the laptop. And you get to use the Apple Pencil, which is just an altogether different input device that is different from keyboard and mouse, so you get the best of both worlds here. Here you can do your notes, reading, planning, sketching, watching Netflix on the airplane. As someone who's lived with an iPad Mini, the form factor is seriously unbeatable. I mean, it's crazy how much more portable this thing is compared to even an 11-inch iPad. And you can also use it as another screen for your laptop using Sidecar, which is very helpful when you're setting up to work anywhere other than your home. The MacBook Air and iPad Mini are such an unbeatable duo. Like, they both fit into my smallest backpack. At the moment, I would recommend definitely going with the Mini 7 if it is going to be your only iPad. That way you get Apple Intelligence and can also use the Pencil Pro. The Minis also even tend to have a pretty long life cycle, so not only will this keep you going for a while, you'll also have the latest for a while. Now, perhaps the most controversial take. Get the base model iPhone 17. You might not like hearing this, but the iPhone Pro is so OP. You do not need it. I really want to do a whole video on the topic of how Apple has been like subtly changing the positioning of their phones within the range. But for now, just know that with the setup I'm giving you, the Pro is unnecessary. The differences between the devices on a day-to-day basis for most people are truly minimal, especially with the 17 range. Really, the only big reason to go with the Pro would be if you want to use the camera for filming, and if you're that bothered about it, I would honestly invest in an actual camera. And yes, the Pro is a bit more powerful. It has a little bit of a longer battery life, life, but realistically, what are you going to be doing on your phone that you couldn't do with the iPad mini in this setup? Now for a true peripheral device that I think just completes the ecosystem. AirPods Pro 3. The way they blend so seamlessly with the Apple ecosystem is honestly such a huge quality of life upgrade. Sure, the little things like auto switching from device to device don't seem that big, but once you realize how little you have to think about those things during the day, it is so nice. There are also little touches like how your MacBook wakes up if you put your AirPods in. That is flawless to me. Absolutely gorgeous. They have enough functionality that you don't have to have your phone in your hand every waking moment, and can even eliminate the need to pick it up entirely in some cases. The upgrade here is also the Pro 3s come with heart rate tracking. It's a really helpful alternative for people who just want basic health tracking and don't want to wear a smartwatch or a smart ring. These are all tiny improvements, but they happen dozens of times a day, and it compounds. Now you could switch these out for the AirPods 4 with A and C, but really I would say only do that if you truly do not like the way the Pros sit in your ear. That can be a comfort thing for most people, and if that's the case for you, downgrading basically means that you're just not going to have the swiping functionality and the heart rate sensor. But obviously that is a personal choice, so take your pick here. Now for the things I'd skip. The Apple Watch. I love the Apple Watch, I really do. But for this setup, I don't think it adds all that much practicality, other than giving you another screen that demands attention. The health tracking features are nice if you need them, and if you are a big fitness person, this is definitely a maybe. But for the average person, I wouldn't say the watch is a necessity, especially if you're letting your earbuds take on some of that functionality. Another heavily hyped product is the AirPods Max. Again, gorgeous, and admittedly I am very swayed by the aesthetics of them. Like, they are undeniably a gorgeous pair of over-ears, and they are also very good, but they are not as practical as the AirPods Pro, and for this setup I really don't think I can justify the cost. I'd rather keep things simple and let these go if they aren't materially improving my experience or introducing new functionality, because you have to remember that every device you add to the ecosystem is a device you must maintain. And while I think both of these devices are nice and very good devices, in 2026 I would not consider them a must. So the fun part, how much would all of this cost? For the Brits, it's going to be £2,645, and for the Americans, not too much difference, at $2,705. Of course, there can be some differences when you upgrade for storage and stuff like that, but really this whole thing comes to under £3,000. Again, this setup is not the cheapest that you can buy, but I do think it provides the greatest value for your money if you want to step into the Apple ecosystem in a no-fuss, frictionless way. And when I was setting up this ecosystem, I did not work to a budget for anything. I've actually just calculated this now, and I am kind of shocked. And this setup will last you at the very least several years. And obviously some devices you will upgrade earlier than others, and that is fine. Replace as you need, as you see fit. Because at the end of the day, it really is just doing what works best for you and not jumping on the train of what people tell you you need. Anyways, this is the setup that I would choose, but let me know what you think and if I missed anything. And if this was at all helpful or interesting to you, consider dropping me a like or subscribe. I would really appreciate it. See you later.